She's currently attending another meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay. In terms of constitution of the meeting, honorable members, we now currently have the necessary quorum and we can start the meeting. The meeting corrects. We will request the agenda. Ingasuki masihlale siyifakile, Mr. Mkhwanas. The agenda must always be showing, please. Mr. Mkhwanas, the agenda? I can't see the agenda. I want to go to the next item. We want to go to the following item. We are tabling the agenda for adoption. It's a special meeting. We are only having the one item, which is the legislature calendar for September to December 2020. That's what we want to table because we had adopted a calendar, but due to the lockdown being relaxed to lockdown level 2, we had to come and present it because it would be affected by the regulations. Present it back to the special program committee meeting. That one item, honorable members. We are presenting that we adopt.
Great, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Manda. Seconded by?
Zungu.
Honorable Zungu, thank you. Let's move to item number 4. Ms. Naidu.
Thank you, Speaker. Good afternoon to the members and the leadership. The issue is relating to the amendment of the calendar. I'm going to request Mr. Mkhwanazi to please project the document. We've prepared a document that talks to the specific issues and it will then be discussed by the program committee and will then have a concomitant effect on the calendar itself. Mr. Mkhwanazi, please can you project it? I can't see it. Essentially, we are approaching the program committee to request for a decision insofar as the multi-party oversight meetings and visits for the eThekwini region is concerned, for the postponement of SCOPA hearings, and then also to address the NCOP issues, as well as opening up committee activities in the light of the country being on alert level 2. The issue insofar as the multi-party meetings and visits are concerned is specific to requesting the program committee to review the dates. We had initially provided for that to be on the 1st and 2nd of September, which is next week, but we are not able to process it because there's a number of activities that need to happen and a number of decisions that we're reliant on the change in the alert level as well. So we're requesting that the dates be moved from the 1st and 2nd of September to the 22nd and 23rd of September. Members will recall that in the last program committee meeting, which was held on the 8th of July, the committee approved the calendar for July to December 2020. And the activities that were on that calendar was the multi-party oversight visit, as indicated on the 1st and 2nd of September, the provincial week, the SCOPA hearings, as well as restrictions on oversight visits by the committee. Now, insofar as the multi-party meetings and the visits is concerned, the mode of delivery of that multi-party visit was yet to be finalized. At the time of the adoption of the calendar on the 8th of July, the public halls were still not open for use for community meetings because at that time the country was still under lockdown alert level 3. Soon after the start of alert level 2, the administration contacted the eThekwini municipality to inquire about how they were responding to alert level 2 insofar as the use of community halls is concerned. And the response we got from them was that they were still not open for public meetings. Now, just for the benefit of the program committee, in terms of how we conduct the TLTP program, there's a number of stages building up to the actual TLTP that's scheduled to take place in November. What needs to happen first is a political leadership meeting with the targeted district between the speaker, the office of the Speaker of the Legislature, with the political leadership of the relevant district metro, and that is the mayor and speaker from the municipality. Once that contact session concludes, it's followed by the logistics and the planning sessions, which involves the administration of the legislature as well as the municipality and relevant government departments. Thereafter, the phase that follows is the community readiness program, where public participation, supported by other units, prepares the stakeholders by educating them on the role of the legislature, the program itself, and what is expected from the community. Then the fourth phase consists of a multi-party oversight meeting and visits to projects with a view to ascertaining the level of service delivery in the area that's targeted. And the fifth phase is the sitting itself, and we normally have a public engagement and then a formal sitting. And the intention is to hear from the public, but to report on issues where possible, and to expose the public to a formal sitting of the legislature. And then the last phase would be a feedback, which normally takes place about 6 months after the initial TLTP. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact on the work of the legislature, it was not possible to plan in terms of the normal course of business, in terms of what we know happens in normal circumstances. So what we're recommending now is that we have teams. So the mode of delivery that builds up to the TLTP, we're recommending that we consider the allocation of members to the 5 regions of eThekwini, into the west, made up of Pinetown and surrounding areas, the north, Verulam, Tongaat and surrounding areas, the south, Mkomazi to Sfingo, the north central, Inanda, KwaMashu, and Tuzuma and surrounding areas, and south central, Mlazi to Durban Central. And within each of these regions, there can be up to 3 smaller teams established, comprising of about 4 members each. This would then ensure that even though each meeting cannot have more than 50 people, the 3 meetings in a region reaches at least 120 people per team. So the overall reach that we would then target would be 360 per region, multiplied by the 5 regions. So it would be a wider reach for the oversight visit. And we're suggesting that the agenda, it's really just to ascertain what the service delivery levels are in the area. So it would be an opening, it would be explaining the purpose, having introductions, but getting more inputs from the public in relation to service delivery. And we're suggesting that we have the 3 meetings broken up into a meeting that starts at 9 and runs for 1 hour and 30 minutes and finishes at 10:30. Then the second meeting follows at 11:30 and finishes at 1. And the third meeting starts at 2 and finishes at 3:30. And then we're suggesting the identification of actual venues, that this be done with the municipality. And the first engagement with the speaker, office of the speaker with the municipality, really tries to engage with the metro towards requesting that they review the regulations in the light of cooperative government, so that we can utilize the halls, even though they have closed halls during the community halls during alert level 2, to allow the legislature to utilize those community halls, subject to actually obeying the regulations in terms of numbers and social distancing. To fulfill this, then we look at 9 wards per region, which have the community with comparatively low service delivery as compared to other wards, and we identify those ones. And then the halls in these wards we're hoping will be made available so that at least 2 days prior to the multi-party meetings, the venues are sanitized. We will then, as the administration, undertake logistics relating to preparation of the halls. And we're saying that if the venues are not made available by the Metro, we would have the option of working with the interfaith sector to secure church buildings for the meetings. They may still, the church buildings may also still be used to supplement should some of the identified wards not have a community hall. Then the planning sessions will largely be virtually and will ensure that the facilities and security unit will physically inspect the halls and ensure readiness. And then in terms of the reach to the people, so for each of the 3 teams in the region, we are going to target 40 people that's outside of the legislature support staff, 40 members from the community in the room, and other interested people will connect virtually in order to view and to send their SMS messages. Then there would be 3 meetings per team, as I indicated earlier, and we'll have a reach of 120 people. And with a total of 15 teams in the Metro in total, then we could have a reach of 1,800 people. And the meetings will mainly allow stakeholders to raise service delivery issues, which will be compiled into a report, which will be consolidated and referred to the executive within 7 days of the multi-party meetings and visits having taken place. And we envisage that the composition of the meetings per venue will be 40 members of the public and then 10 from the delegation. And the 10 will be made up of 4 members of the legislature, a researcher, a coordinator, a public participation practitioner, 1 ward councillor, a PLO and a communications officer. We'll also have a security officer manning the perimeter and ensuring that we're managing the numbers, screening people, recording personal information, and we'll have SAPs to ensure peacekeeping in the venue. Excuse me. And other participants that can connect virtually could be the PLOs, the councillors, the departmental officials. And members of the public who will be participating virtually through Facebook or social media platforms will be able to send their inputs through SMS for captioning into the report, and we'll ensure that the social media connection will be through a rollback facility to the legislature, thus allowing for us to fully engage with public and facilitate their involvement in our processes. Insofar as the identification of participants is concerned, we would be working with the eThekwini Metro, the strategic partners, and utilizing our legislature database. And the identified stakeholders may be invited directly so that the numbers do not exceed 50. And the identified persons will be the ones who will all be making submissions during the oversight meeting. We also use community radio stations within eThekwini, and this will be used to emphasize the engagement and how members of the public may connect to the meeting links and how their inputs may be submitted. On the second day of the oversight visits, we're proposing that there would be visits to major projects, and the research unit will submit a list of projects in each region for consideration and approval by the speaker. And then these projects will... Sorry, I'm sorry. Speaker, can I continue?
Yes, because this is live. When you hear a clip that a member has made a mistake and realized the mistake, continue. This is live.
Thank you. These projects will be the ones previously visited, and progress will be tracked and reports prepared by the research unit prior to the visit. So in order for all of this to happen, it necessitates that we review the dates because of the logistical arrangements, and the proposal is that we should, the programming committee take the decision to change the date from the 1st and 2nd of September to the 22nd and 23rd of September for the multi-party meetings and the visits. And then we move on to the TLTP, which is scheduled for the 3rd and 4th of November 2020. Now, the lockdown may or may not have reached level 1 of the risk-adjusted strategy by November. If it has reached level 1, then we would then propose that we go for the physical sitting with the numbers exceeding 1,500, as is usually the case. But if it does not reach level 1, then we would have to look at a TLTP that is a hybrid type of event, where numbers are reduced and the public link up through social media with the build-back functionality. Then the next proposal that we have is insofar as the postponement of SCOPA hearings is concerned. Members of the program committee will recall that the Minister of Finance issued regulations that allowed for submission of compliance reports to be postponed for a period of 2 months. This then has an effect on the tabling of annual reports, and the annual reports are then considered by SCOPA. So we haven't followed, as a result of that extension, the reports have not been tabled, and SCOPA then will not be able to do their work as they normally do at this time of the year. So the recommendation is that SCOPA hearings be postponed from October and be accommodated in January 2021. Then on the provincial week, local government week, we had initially set down the local government week in the first week of September, but we've now seen from the latest program from the NCOP that local government week is going to be on the 9th to the 11th of September, and it's going to be held virtually. So we had to then remove the NCOP week, which was in the first week of September, and provide for it on the 9th and from the 9th to the 11th of September. And the NCOP bills that are Section 76 bills that are currently before us is the Traditional Courts Bill, the Local Government Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, the Customary Initiation Bill, the Social Assistance Amendment Bill. And those voting mandates will be required by the 29th of September 2020. And the recommendation to the program committee is that a special sitting be provided for on the 29th of September to allow for the voting mandate to be passed. And there will be a request from KZN legislature to the National NCOP office requesting that at least for the meetings to be held in the afternoon, so that the special sitting can take place in the morning of the 29th. Then the last item, Chairperson and members of the program committee, is the oversight visits by committee. And very quickly, this is just a refreshing of our memory in terms of the background. On the 29th of May, the program committee specifically resolved that the importance of oversight visits should, during the level 5 to 2 of the lockdown, not outweigh the safety measures to ensure none or minimal risk of exposure. And the requests for oversight visits by committees should be submitted a week in advance and should reflect the following: whether the committee is overseeing one of the frontline departments, if there are or aren't any clashes on the dates requested, and if there are clashes, which members are affected by the clashes, the significance of the identified sites for the oversight visit, the measures that will be in place to ensure that members and staff are protected from the risk of infection. And at that stage, the gatherings were still not being permitted, so the plan to reduce the number of members and staff visiting various identified sites, and the identification of members and staff that may not attend due to comorbidities and age. And the express provision related to those committees that were not playing oversight over a frontline department would not be would not be approved for an oversight visit until level 1 of the lockdown was attained. And a committee playing oversight over a frontline department may not undertake more than one oversight visit per month for the duration of the lockdown above level 1. And if more than one site is visited, then the committee should consider splitting members so that more sites are reached on one day. That was to take into consideration the very severe restrictions on movement in the period that the committee was under level 4, level 3. But now that we are at level 2, we're updating the committee, and the program committee then must consider the issues relevant to level 2 and consider the decisions that it has taken thus far and provide a way forward. And there has been a further opening up of activities, and in line with the lockdown level, we are recommending that program committee consider oversight visits to four committees, bearing in mind the level 2 regulations. So what we have currently applicable is the general conditions that are still applicable in terms of the relevant regulations. What we've provided for is a summary of the relevant general conditions applicable currently, and the relevant regulations are: all employers must adopt measures to promote physical distancing of employees, including enabling employees to work from home or minimizing the need for employees to be physically present at the workplace, the provision for adequate space, restrictions on face-to-face meetings, special measures for employees with known or disclosed health issues or comorbidities, or with any condition which may place an employee at a higher risk of complication or death if infected by COVID-19. And we provide for special measures for employees above the age of 60 who are at a higher risk of complications or death if they're infected. Then the specific regulations under alert level 2 is that gatherings will be allowed, but when attending gatherings, all persons must wear face masks and adhere to health and social distancing protocols, and provided that persons doing vigorous sporting activities are not obliged to wear masks. So the gatherings that are allowed are the faith-based institutions gatherings, and the maximum amount of people that may attend is 50, and that depends on the size of the venue and adherence to health and social distancing protocols. Funerals, workplaces, gatherings are allowed in workplaces, business conferences and meetings with a maximum of 50 persons, of course allowing for participation through virtual means beyond the number of 50. Events at function venues with a maximum of 50 persons and subject to directions issued by the relevant minister. And accommodation establishments are also open with some restrictions. Under Table 3, on Alert Level 2, there is provision for all persons who are able to work from home to do so. However, persons are permitted to perform any type of work outside the home and to travel for work purposes, subject to strict adherence to health and social distancing measures, and the phased-in return to work. The return to work being done in a manner that avoids and reduces risks of infection, and the work not being listed in the table of specific economic exclusions. So from that, the regulations, we can see that there is a nuance of change, and it is allowing for more activity, albeit with recognition of the health protocols and social distancing and some of the restrictions in terms of the numbers of people that can be participating in gatherings. So in summary, employers must enable employees to work from home, minimize the need for employees to be physically present at the workplace, restrict face-to-face meetings, adopt special measures for employees over the age of 60, and for those with known or disclosed health conditions, issues of comorbidities, or with any condition which may place an employee at a higher risk of complication or death, and it should be phased in. Now, bearing that in mind, and recognizing the relaxations in Alert Level 2, it's recommended that the importance of oversight visits should, during Level 2 of the lockdown, be balanced against the need to ensure none or minimal risk of exposure. And so we're suggesting that the request for oversight visits by committees should be submitted a week in advance and should apply to all committees, not just the committees looking at frontline departments. The same condition of checking whether there are clashes, which we normally do, and identifying which members are affected by the clash, and this deals with quorum issues and value for money in terms of approval of the oversight visit. The significance of the identified sites, and bearing in mind the health protocols and the restrictions, we also still indicating that if a committee is going out on an oversight visit, they must also advise in their request the measures that will be in place to ensure that members and staff are protected from the risk of infection. And with the gatherings limited to 50, the plan to reduce the number of members and staff visiting various identified sites, and identification of members and staff that may not attend due to comorbidities. And we're saying that in relaxing the limitations on oversight visits, committees must be made aware that each request for an oversight visit shall still need to comply with the requirements reflecting safety measures and shall be considered on its own merits. Thank you, Speaker. This is in totality the proposal that we are placing before the Programming Committee for consideration and advice insofar as the calendar is concerned for the period after today and ending in December. Thank you, Speaker.
Kindly, whilst you are not speaking, kindly attend to the noise behind you. Switch off your mic, please, Ms. Naidu, and attend to the noise behind you. It's terrible. Honorable members, let's take hands. Oh, I forgot to do that. Rogers. I know your hand is up, Francois. Honorable Rogers, it's only you who has a hand up.
Thank you, Speaker. Just a bit of clarity. Otherwise, I have no issues. When it comes to the meetings that are planned, the eThekwini meetings that are planned, the multi-party meetings, am I understanding correctly that there are 5 regions, and in each region we will break up into 3 subcommittees? If that's the case, my question is, number 1, are there any cost implications in us splitting into so many groups? Does it have a compounded effect on our budget for this? Number 2, if each of these meetings is going to be broadcast on social media, and it's probably tied up with my first question, does that mean we're going to be using audio-visual equipment at each of the venues and at each of the subcommittees to be able to broadcast this? And then I understood Narusha to say that we would identify stakeholders and invite them to the actual meeting, limiting to 40. My question is, what do we do in the case of where we get 60 or 70 people that decide to attend? Do we then have to turn those people away? Those are my questions. Thank you. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rogers. Honorable Mlotshwa. Honorable Mlotshwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to you and all honorable members. In fact, Honorable Rogers has covered me with regards to whenever the number is being exceeded, what is going to be done. Thank you.
Honorable Kaluza. Honorable the Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Let's appreciate and welcome the report by the Secretary. I think it's to me. Well, firstly, let's just indicate that a lot of work has gone into it. A lot of work was actually put into the report, and actually making it easy for us to understand. I know it's not easy to navigate on how we are currently doing things. But in trying to ensure that we proceed with the work of the legislature, and let's really appreciate the work that has been done. I support, Speaker, the requests that were done in the first one in terms of the postponements of the TLTP to move to a later date in September, as well as the SCOPA hearings to then move to, obviously the indication is that there is no compliance issues that are going to be compromised. Therefore, I support the fact that it moves to January. But I think after the response may be given to the honourable members who have asked questions, I would then move for the adoption of the report as presented by Ms. Nigel. Thank you very much.
I will come back to you on that. Honourable Kwala. Honourable Kwala. Pepet. Honourable Kwala, your hand was up. Honourable Kwala.
Usabheke inkomo esibayeni umphephethu.
Oh, okay. Nimcheneke ukuthi
Chair, can you hear me?
No, I
Thank you
can't
very
hear
much.
you, Mpepet. No, Mpepet, I can't hear you. Awukwazi ukuthola indawo ekahle mfowethu.
Even now.
Mhlonishwa.
Even now.
Ngiyakuzwa ke Mhlonishwa. Ngiyakuzwa ke Mhlonishwa. Ngiyakuzwa Mhlonishwa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I also concur with the sentiments expressed by the other members with regard to the report presented by the Secretary. We support the report, and we think that the committee has a right to change the program, because that's what confused me in the previous meeting when it was said that we cannot change what was agreed before. So I'm happy with that. But the only question that I would like to raise is just of a clarity. The criteria that will be used to get the people into the meeting. What the criteria that will actually be used to select those that will be attending the meeting. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Mpepete. Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, let me also welcome the presentation of the report by the Secretary, and agree with the Deputy Chief Whip that a lot of thought went into these proposals. It's a situation which is abnormal, and we're dealing with an abnormal situation. And you can see the recommendations that are put forward that are trying to navigate within the restrictions that are imposed by the regulations in terms of COVID-19, but at the same time trying to make sure that we do our work as the legislature. So for me, Honourable Speaker, is to support the proposals put forward. I don't have any question, but I think this proposal will assist us to move forward as the legislature. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Chief Whip. Ms. Naidu, Secretary, may you please give the clarification that was requested by Honourable Rogers and the other members. I will request members to go back to where they raised their hands to please lower the hands that are raised so that after the clarification given by the secretary, I can see who wants to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I hope my sound is much better now. I've switched to the cell phone. I think maybe I must put the video off. It sometimes affects the sound. So with your permission, I'll do that. On the issue of the cost implications, we are having a concentrated focus on eThekwini, so all the members are going to be involved. So it's not like the normal oversight visits where I have a few the multi-party committee. So there will be a cost impact as a result of the concentration with all members involved. However, we think that the set-off is that we're not going to be having the issue of provision of meals. We're not going to provide for transport of people to the venue, so that then sets off the cost. So we don't think that it will be costing more than we normally pay. In fact, I think we will still have savings because a lot of the involvement is also going to be coming in through the virtual contact. So it's the limitation of 50 people has an impact on the cost, even though you're having a larger number of teams. We're not providing meals, we're not providing for transporting, but we also have lots of savings. So we don't think it's going to actually be prohibitive. And we're trying to work with a situation that allows for the public involvement to the extent that we need to inform the TLTP for that region. So it will be managed in that manner. We work within the budget that we allocate for the TLTP. There will definitely have to be a virtual link up and we'll have to make arrangements for that virtual link up in all the areas, because we anticipate that 50 is just a small number, but the larger input will come in from the people that are following on virtual, on social media. The issue of the criteria, we will be asking the researchers to work on that and look at objective criteria. The whole purpose of the TLTP process is to look at influence oversight through ascertaining service delivery. So the researchers will work with the eThekwini municipality in terms of mapping out the entire region, finding the different areas, the pockets where the poorest service delivery levels are, getting a balance, looking at the most vulnerable, but also we will look at our database and look at the stakeholders that we've worked with before in that region, and from that we will then extract the relevant 50 for the different areas. But we don't think that that's going to be negatively impacting on the program, because we're still opening it up through its virtual platforms to the rest of the public. So those 50 are going to be a microcosm identified for those regions that will then be able to give a sense of what kind of service delivery is occurring in that area. So we think that it's not the ideal situation. We're trying to work within the restrictions, but still get the benefit of the program of TLTP informed by issues on the ground. Thank you, Speaker. But the criteria will definitely be managed through the research component.
Thank you, Honorable Rogers. Joachim?
Oh, Somlom, I forgot to put my hand down. Apologies, Speaker.
I thought you might have a follow-up also on the matter. Okay. Honorable members, anyone wants to have a follow-up now that the clarification has been brought forth? On a Friday, we to see my sister's colors is green.
Thank you, Speaker. 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 Thank No
Honorable
comment.
members, honorable members, I can see that we are all in agreement that the proposals as brought forth by those in the leadership of the program committee as the proposals have been understood and are supported. But for record purposes, can we properly get the mover for the adoption of the proposals? Because Honorable Xaluzu bese wangathi une condition ngalesa sikhathi, but can we get a formal mover? Honorable Kunene, your hand is up.
I move, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kunene moves. Honorable Zuma.
I second, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mlotshwa. Also second, ne? We
Yes.
have adopted.
Yes,
We have
Honorable Speaker. I was going to second.
We have adopted the proposals. We are still sticking to alert level 2 regulations, but we are now going to ensure that we continue to allow oversight. We move so certain meetings limited to 50. We continue to move with the preparations for the TLTPs, which is still envisaged to be at a virtual platform, but the meetings with communities will be done as proposed. Secretary, I think we have done. Deputy Speaker, can I give you an opportunity?
No, Somlomo, I am fine. I think isabambeke ngakho.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, Secretary, is there anything that we might be leaving out? You are fine, Madam.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the Programming Committee. We are fine.
Thank you, honorable members. The Chief Whip of the Legislature, the Chief Whip of the Opposition, all whips of parties, the Office of the Chair of Committees. Thank you, honorable members, for taking time on a Friday to be with us. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker.
Mphephethu bogibela phe kwendlu sokuzwa.
Akagibele esihlahleni umphephethu.